Hey everybody, welcome to our very first vendor highlight video with Custom Botanical Dispensary. Today we're really honored and excited to have Willie's Remedy and Devin with Willie's Remedy on Zoom with us to talk about a couple things. Devin, if you want to introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, everybody. My name is Devin Jamros, and I do product development with Willie's Remedy in the beverage division.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time today to chat with us. So yesterday was a big day. Well, this whole month is a big month for us.
Yeah.
And we watched. I watched a little bit of that live stream yesterday, the Come and Toke It with
hmm
Willie, and that was a lot of fun. We did open our store back up for business for curbside yesterday, so I didn't get to watch the entire thing, but a few highlights. One of my favorite parts was actually all the comments from the general public that were on and watching. And I think at one point I got on there and just, it was over, I don't know how many views, but when I was on there, it was like over 10,000 people were on
Yeah.
watching. And that was probably my favorite part, to just see all of the people all over the world watching. So I was going to ask you, did you get a chance to participate, watch the whole thing, or?
Yeah, I did a little bit of collaborating on the cocktail, the First Rose of Spring that we launched with Source Crafted Cocktails, and then I did definitely watch pretty much the whole thing. I had a conference call right when it was starting, and I was like, guys, we're putting on this event. We're gonna have a conference call during it. Come on. But I did get to see most of it. I just sort of had it on in the background while I was working yesterday. And yeah, I love um, how everybody has their own sort of Willie story.
hmm
And like, oh, one time I was on Willie's bus and then I forgot all the lyrics to my song. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
enjoyed it and I love that getting to be a part of those things.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you become involved with Willie, and what's your story? Like, what's your Willie's Remedy and Willie's story?
So yeah, so I started another company called Steep Fuse with a partner of mine, and we started that in 2014, 2015, and that was a home project on infusing uh, cannabis extract into coffee beans. At the time, I was painting houses, and I got in a snowboarding accident, and I couldn't go to work for 4 months, and I started first I was on all sorts of nasty prescription drugs,
Mhm.
and then started using uh, homemade cannabis tinctures to supplement and then replace those drugs. And at the time when I was getting more functional, but I still couldn't go to work, and I started getting into home coffee roasting. And my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, got me a book on home roasting, and it included a little guide on how to convert a whirly popcorn popper into a coffee roaster for stovetop. So my partner and I started infusing. First, we played around with THC extract a little
Mhm.
bit, but quickly moved over to CBD for regulatory reasons, and also just for me, CBD was working a lot better than THC at the time because I needed to go back to work, and I can't be up on 60-foot ladders all day with a lot of THC tincture in my head. um, so every morning it was sort of, I would drink my coffee and then have my CBD tincture, and then there was this like aha moment of what if these things could go together. So we started that business. Um, and when we launched the website for ecom sales in about 2016, a really good week for us meant like we sold $50 worth of coffee.
Right.
But
Yeah.
then this random online customer named Annie Nelson would occasionally buy huge orders and send them all over the country. Like they'd go to LA, they'd go to Hawaii, they'd go to Texas. I'm like, who is this saint that is supporting our business? Anyway, fast forward years and years later, we come to find out that that customer of ours was the Annie
Annie
Nelson,
Nelson.
Willie
Yeah.
Nelson's wife, and that she had been buying our coffee for years secretly. And then she started sending we called them her agents, to our booth at events. And like they would grill us on really hard questions about the coffee. We never knew who they were. And then eventually we figured it all out and started working with them to make a coffee for the Remedy. And then now we're part of the Remedy team, and we do all the coffees and all the teas.
That's fantastic. That's a great story. Just because, I know Annie, I've met her a few times, and she's such a great person. And I can absolutely see her kind of like behind the scenes, like, I got my eye on this guy. So what is he doing? Like, definitely can see that. So that's really cool. So obviously right now we're just in, like the rest of the world, a very interesting, an interesting time and an interesting space with COVID-19. And so, one of the questions that I get from our customers is kind of, what are the brands doing to make sure that, the products, like, how are they, is Willie's on operation? Like, are things going, like, what's happening? How are you guys, dealing with the pandemic and with COVID-19, and what are you guys doing?
So we were in the process of moving into a larger facility when all this started happening. And we were pretty fortunate that we hadn't moved yet because, all of a sudden all the restrictions and quarantine came into place. And, we're considered an essential business because we're food production. But at the same time, we don't want to have, our team in there bumping elbows with each other and putting anybody at risk. So we've really scaled back how we do our production right now. So we've staggered everybody's schedules so that we've only got one person in any particular area of the production facility at a time, so that we're keeping everybody safe, and everybody's masked, gloved, the works. And it's been an interesting challenge because for us, especially with the coffee, tea has a pretty long shelf life, but coffee, we want to keep that really fresh and get that out the door really fresh. Our target is always within 2 weeks of roasting. And so running a skeleton crew, but trying to keep fresh coffee coming in, getting it infused within a day or two, curing it, bagging it, getting it back out, has been an interesting little juggle with not wanting to have more than one person in each area of the facility at a time. So that's been the big one on the production side. And then, trying to keep in contact with our retailers and our consumers. We're still here. We're still pumping out the coffee and tea. I mean, if anything, everybody's stuck at home. Everybody's got their kids at home. Everybody's got maybe a grumpy spouse at home. Like, this is the perfect time.
This is the perfect time to drink CBD or tea infused. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. So talking about your coffee and tea, can you tell me, especially with Willie's Remedy, what separates you guys from other CBD coffees and teas on the market, that there is right now? Because obviously we've seen a huge growth in the hemp and CBD industry, and a lot of products coming to market. And right now, in our space, we exclusively, like, you guys right now are our only coffee that we have in our store. I have lots of reasons why, but I'll kind of let you talk about how, what you guys have. How is that different from other CBD coffees? And how is that different also from, just putting, like you had said, when you're putting that tincture in your cup of coffee in the morning, how does what you guys have now, how's that all different?
Sure. I think a lot of that ties to the fact that, like you said, there's been a big surge of coffee and tea companies coming out in the last year or two, but we had a pretty dramatic head start when we were first developing our process. When we go to events, the most common question we would get asked by people is, what is CBD? So we're trying, most of the world's trying to figure out what CBD even is, and we're trying to figure out the infusion and extraction issues with with coffee. So we got a bit of a head start on sorting some of these things out. And our actual infusion process was in development for almost 3 years. Um, and it's now a patented process, actually. And what we do is we realized kind of early on that if we wanted to have an infused product, we needed to have a product that was going to be as good or better than what people were going to drink normally. Because if a coffee is going to be infused with, say, THC, people are very forgiving if a product is going to get them high. Like if they'll
Right.
chug a nasty coffee for the after effects.
They're like, it's fine. It doesn't
Like,
matter
oh,
what it is.
so
Yeah.
bad, but
Yeah.
I'll give you some more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of what we did was to do with both the flavor and then the efficacy. So in terms of just like adding a tincture to your coffee, most tinctures out there, are going to be MCT oil based. They're going to be some sort of other oil base. You're pretty much just going to get them floating right up to the top of your coffee. You're going to get one really hempy sip and then just regular coffee. You're going to get a lot sticking to the rim of the cup. And then there are a lot more sort of water soluble formulas out there and water soluble powders. And there are some pretty good ones, I will say, but I do think that typically with adding a water soluble formula, you're still adding a lot of unnecessary flavor components. Most water solubles are less than 20% extract. And so there's a lot of surfactants, emulsifiers, starches, maltodextrin, whatever, to make that product water soluble. And none of those really have any business in coffee, especially in good, fresh roasted specialty coffee. And so that's why we went the direct infusion route. Also just, sort of natural food and health trends in general are focusing much more on get your nutrition from your food, not from supplements. I feel like that was more, a previous generation, just take an extra vitamin. So we kind of wanted to get away from that and align with natural food trends and a natural food philosophy of get your nutrition from your food. And so with that in mind and going the route of direct infusion, what's going to make ours unique is it's a combination of things. Our process is pretty different from what we think most people out there are doing. Because there's a lot of spray coated beans out there. And there's a lot of, K-cups that have a blob of oil in there or, a mixed powder in there. Like we mixed the powder in for you. Our process actually binds primarily to the fat, binds the hemp extract primarily to the naturally occurring fats in the coffee bean. Coffee beans actually have a lot of fat in them. They're like 15% lipids, and they've got triglycerides, they have terpenes, other compounds that are really good delivery method, really good carrier oils for hemp extract. So our process binds the hemp extract directly to those natural fats, which most of the fat in coffee are actual essential fatty acids. So your body absorbs them really well. And so during the brewing, those oils break out off of the beans into your cup. And then when you drink the coffee, you're getting your hemp extract in a really nice, highly bioavailable natural fat from the coffee.
Right. And not only that, but, you guys are sourcing your beans, you have high quality beans that you're using as well. So that's kind of a big.
Yeah, we, and it's actually a great combo the way that works out, because typically the highest quality beans tend to have the highest fat content. Just the way they often have longer growing seasons. They have, they develop their sugar content more rich and more fully. And those same things that will have a coffee score higher in like a cupping score, make it a better candidate for infusion anyway. So we sort of have to use really good coffee if we want to get good effects, which is just a great partnership there.
So now talking on that, you hear a lot, especially, a couple of years ago, no one really knew the word terpene or flavonoid, unless you were in this space and you really understood what a terpene or a flavonoid was.
Totally.
So, and not just, obviously in the cannabis space. And
Mhm.
so, can you kind of hit on how the terpenes and flavonoids, ha- there's some of those in coffee as well,
Mhm.
and what that is. So if someone's like, well, what is, because I get it asked all the time, well, what is terpenes? What are
Yep.
these flavor? Because
Uh-huh.
all of our products have terpenes and
Uh-huh.
flavonoids in it. So how does that, how do the terpenes and flavonoids that come from the CBD product, uh,
Mhm.
and the oil, and the terpene and flavonoids in the coffees, like how do they mesh together? Is there some sort of role that they play in how they work together?
Totally. And it's a little different in the coffee and the tea. For both of the coffee and the tea, um, terpenes in the extract matter just in terms of a flavor profile, first and foremost, in that because we're using a full spectrum extract, um, we still have tons of terpenes, tons of flavonoids in the extract. So we have to be pretty choosy about what extracts we'll use because some extracts just really don't mesh with the flavor of the coffee. Now, most people say they cannot taste any extract in the coffee.
Hmm.
Um, but a lot of people who are either in the coffee space professionally or in the cannabis space professionally can pick out, like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of, it's a little peppery. Maybe there's some beta caryophyllene in there or whatever. Um, and so because we're not using any flavor maskers and we're not using a highly refined distillate or isolate, and we have all those flavor molecules still in the extract, um, pairing the extract with the coffee so that we can sort of bury the flavor of the hemp extract into the coffee, and it just becomes like, oh, there's a peppery note or an earthy note, not a hempy note.
Hmm.
That's important, and that's really important in the tea, because tea also has terpenes, and tea has, myrcene, linalool, a lot of the
Hmm.
same terpenes that you find in cannabis. You find the exact same terpenes in tea. And for your viewers who don't know, terpenes are essentially aromatic flavor molecules found in plants, in all sorts of plants. Cannabis has them, hops, pine trees, black pepper.
Pretty much everything
Yeah,
that's a fruit, a vegetable, a plant.
totally.
If I think some people, and I always say not to confuse them with essential oils, like the
Mhm.
the essential oils, but that's in layman's term is kind of
Sure.
what they are. You
Yeah.
smell a lemon, and that's what you're getting. Those are the terpenes of the lemon.
Totally. And
So.
actually, there's a lot of terpenes have, historically proven medical and wellness benefits. Like a common one that we like, we source an extract. Our extract is high in beta caryophyllene,
Hmm.
and that's a terpene that's found in cloves, black pepper, and it's been proven to be analgesic. So like it's good for pain and inflammation. Like if you've ever had, say, a wisdom tooth removed and you get a dry socket, the dentist will give you clove oil because
Hmm.
that beta caryophyllene is numbing. Um, and so there are lots of different health and wellness properties in actual terpenes that we get from all sorts of. I mean, it's why lavender is calming.
Hmm.
Um, and then coffee actually has a unique set of terpenes, two in particular, called kaweol and cafe stol. And those two, they're unique terpenes to coffee. They give a lot of coffee's aromas, but they also affect the way that your body interacts with fats, which is kind of interesting. There was a while back in early 2000s, coffee was getting a little bit of a bad rap for raising people's cholesterol. And so a lot of research was done on these terpenes, and they found a really unique interaction in the way those terpenes make your body interact with fats. So if you have, say, a fat-based product, like, say, a hemp extract in your coffee, and you want to maximize absorption of said fat, having these terpenes present is great because it aids with that sort of absorption. So the terpenes in coffee are another just sort of fantastic aid in the delivery method. Um, and then in tea, it's much more about targeted effect. If you want to have um, like a chamomile tea, an extract that's high in linalool, which is a calming terpene, is
Hmm.
great. but then also from a flavor perspective, like tea is a much more delicate flavor than coffee. You know, coffee's pretty bold. Cup of coffee is going to hide a lot of flavors. Tea is not. So the infusion process with tea is a lot more delicate, and strain matching is a lot more important.
So tell me with your, cause yeah, you guys have some pretty awesome, I mean, we talked a lot about the coffee. You guys do have some pretty awesome tea blends as well.
Yeah.
Tell me like the inspiration around which ones you kind of picked, and, you know, tell me a little bit more about the CBD, you know, how is it infused? Like, we don't understand the coffee, but how are you doing it, you know, with tea? How are we bringing the tea
Sure.
to market with that?
So tea is a lot harder than coffee. There's a reason we started with coffee. And initially the reasoning behind tea was we would go to a lot of events, and there were so many people who were like, "Ah, you've only got coffee. What about tea, guys?" Like, tea is hard. You know? And so initially it was mostly consumer feedback. Just so many people wanted a tea. Um, and then it got to a point where like, okay, let's play around with tea and see what happens. Um, and you know, tea, some black teas do have some oils, some bergamot oil, some other
Hmm.
um, fats, but not a lot. But teas do have a fair bit of simple sugar, different carbohydrate structures, that which breaks off of the tea leaf and into your cup and makes your cup tea and not just water. Like there are a lot of different targeted compounds that, you know, flavonoids, terpenes, polyphenols, different things that will break off. And so a lot of it was dialing in, how do we infuse those compounds? And how do we do it in a way that's going to be homogeneous? Because tea, you know, whole tea leaves are, you know, they're curly, they're dusty, they're a lot trickier to get evenly infused. So we actually, after we released the coffee, it was almost 2 years of playing around to get tea right. But what we saw with tea is that you get a lot of the benefits with the tea are a little bit different. With coffee, there's a notable, like the edge of the caffeine seems to get taken off. The sour stomach is relieved. Coffee anxiety is mitigated. Tea is mostly just a really awesome sort of mellow state.
Hmm.
The caffeinated teas, it works, you know, really well with to sort of have those same benefits with coffee. But with some of the non-caffeinated herbal teas are where we've seen some really fun effect, and people have really gotten behind our hibiscus berry tea, our chamomile tea. People are really into the caffeine-free teas.
So now with that, I also heard that you are a bit of some mocktails and cocktails that you guys are, so you don't have to just, oh, I'm just going to make myself a chamomile tea before I go to bed, which is a great thing to do and a great
Mhm.
idea. But, you know, having that, and mocktails and cocktails are definitely a big thing, especially being home right now, but just in
Totally.
general, like we've seen a big surge in mocktails and using different things,
Oh yeah,
um, and how,
alcohol-free infusions and
yeah,
really
yeah,
popular. Yeah.
yeah, super popular. And you know, that's uh sorry, I have some Zoom's like telling me something.
Yeah, I get that little
um
warning.
warning, warning, you're reaching your limit.
Mhm.
So uh you know, instead of with cocktails, instead of infusing, you know, the oil into the cocktail, which again does the same kind of thing where, you know, the oil, like if you put in a cup of coffee, it's going to float to the top and everything.
Mhm.
So having a tea
Mhm.
to kind of infuse into mocktails and cocktails sounds pretty interesting. I heard you've got some really cool ideas with that. Would you love to? We'd love if you'd share that with us and tell
I
people how
do,
they
and
can do it at
actually,
home.
you know, yesterday when I was watching some of the Willie Nelson special, and they were doing all the different little foodie presentations and whatever, I got inspired. So I'm going to actually, I will show you how to make one.
Awesome, awesome. That's
Uh,
exciting.
got a little. set up in the office right now.
Very cool.
So is that good? And you can still
Yes.
hear me good?
Yes. Yes.
Great. So I guess I'll come back here for a minute to talk about this. The one of the things with a tea is that tea is about 97+% water. So using a tea in any sort of cocktail or mocktail can actually be a little tricky because you water it down so much. And like if you mix a tea with sparkling water, say, just that simple, what you end up with is mostly just like a kind of sparkly, kind of tea flavored, not that interesting mix,
Right.
because of that high water content. So my personal favorite trick to get around that is to make the tea in advance and then freeze the tea so that the tea is your ice cubes in your drink.
Awesome. Okay.
You're going to
That's
have
super
ice in
cool.
the drink anyway. That's going to water the drink down anyway. So if that's where your tea comes from, then you've got a really easy way to make really awesome mocktails really quickly.
Very
What
cool.
I did today is a fun one. I love it in the summer. So I used some of our peppermint tea. I brewed this up last night. I will send you the recipe, but basically just 2 teaspoons of loose leaf tea for every cup of water. I did about 3 cups, and then mixed in 3 tablespoons of honey so that tea was really nice and sweet, more sweet than I would ever want to drink it. And then I froze it in these fun
Nice little
ice
molds. Yeah.
cubes.
Yeah.
And then basically all I do, bust out the ice cubes. Got your fun little mason jar there. A wedge of lime. Lime goes over the mint. Stick that in there. And then, there we go. Sad. It's like, oh no, I don't have my fizzy water. But I do. And then you just top that with soda water. And what you get is this tasty little
Wow, that's almost
lime
that's pretty
cooler.
instantaneous too.
Yeah, you
I
can
can see
see some
that.
of the
Yeah.
color pulls out right away. And
Wow.
the hemp leaf mold ice cubes get a nice little green hue to them.
Nice. I love that.
And it is immediately minty. It's immediately sweet. And with fizzy water, it basically becomes, you can use any of the tea lines and it basically becomes a fizzy tea cooler instantly.
Instantly. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. That sounds, and being in Texas, we're like definitely right around the corner from, we've already had actually some very 90-degree days. We're approaching 90 degrees. So that sounds absolutely fantastic. And even honestly, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, some of those homemade popsicles, for the kids, just putting that tea in there, and having the tea as little tea popsicles sounds kind of fun as
Totally.
well.
Especially, yeah, just the trick I would say on that is sweeten the tea while it's still hot.
Right,
It
yeah,
dissolves a lot easier
yeah.
there. The hibiscus, so we have one that's a hibiscus berry blend. It's got hibiscus petals, rose hips, red ribose, cranberries, blueberries, bilberries, which are a wild blueberry varietal. And that one's really sweet and tart. And that one iced up and then soda water on top is fantastic.
That sounds great. Awesome. Awesome. Do you have somewhere where people can find, some ideas for your cocktails or mocktails? Is there somewhere to find those recipes?
We're building out a section on the website that'll be it'll be in a blog section that'll have
Okay.
different recipes. And yeah, I've been playing with a couple of different things, and this one is obviously one of our, the simplest is just soda water over ice, but we do have some fancier ones that are,
coming down
with
the line.
bitters and garnished with an orange peel and a, toasted clove. So, um,
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
we will make
Okay, well, we'll
the circulating
definitely we'll share those out to our audience as well as you guys come out with them, and maybe
totally.
we'll come up with some of our own with our we've got a Cooking with CBD YouTube channel that we've been.
Oh, I love it.
My kids are very involved in. They're actually pretty much the highlight
Nice.
of the cooking
I love
channel.
that.
So yeah, and that's just really bringing in products that we carry in the store like yours and how we
Mhm.
incorporate them into recipes at home. So we'll definitely experiment
Oh,
with some of this stuff
well,
that you
and
guys.
definitely send them back to us as well. We love playing around with different infusions, recipes.
Yeah, we will
Someone,
definitely do that. So anything, anything exciting or new that is possibly coming out or launching around your products, new products? Is there anything exciting that we should know about? Or a lot of people we've put stuff on pause, like a lot of the
Mhm.
pause button during all of this. But some people are out there launching new stuff or at least getting ready to this year. So
So we do have a really fun one in the pipeline. Right now, all of our teas are sold as loose leaf teas, and the
mhm,
reason we do that is because tea bags are primarily made of cotton,
right.
and cotton is highly oil absorbent. So if you have an extract in your tea and then it's filtering through this cotton bag, a lot of that oil is going to get extracted. It's a little different than, say, a paper coffee filter. We don't, for coffee filters, we recommend, like, if you can use a steel mesh filter, that's going to be better than a paper filter. But a thin paper filter is not going to pull too much extract out. A cotton tea bag will.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then so we looked at nylon pyramid bags, which are beautiful. They're transparent. And then that a study came out not too maybe 4 months ago on nylon tea bags and how many microplastics and nanoplastics they shed into your cup. The
Mm.
number was insane. It was like 70 million particles or something. And we don't want to be putting out single-use plastic tea
Mm-mm.
bags. It's basically like K cups. It's very environmentally unconscious. So what my current project is working on a PLA, which is a polylactic acid, which means, so essentially a vegetable derived biodegradable tea bag.
Very
Um,
cool.
and so actually, it's funny. I have some samples of them that just came in, and you guys get the first look
Yay,
of
that's exciting.
what might be the new Willie's Remedy bagged tea.
Awesome.
Yeah, they are certified non-GMO. They are biodegradable in compost in 2 weeks and biodegradable in landfill in 90 days. They're flavor neutral and they turn totally transparent when they are wetted in the cup. So
Oh,
they,
that's even cooler.
and so
Yeah.
and because of that cut, they can still be whole leaf teas. A lot of bag teas are cut very fine,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like pre-ground coffee. It loses a lot of its freshness. Um, so we're going to be able to keep the whole leaf teas, those big leaves that are curled up and they'll unfurl in the bag, but you'll still get the single serving precision dosing and all the convenience of a tea bag.
That is so exciting. Like, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm excited to get those and, put them in a
Mm-hmm.
clear tea pot and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens with that.
Mm-hmm.
Those will make for some pretty pictures. So
Oh yes. Oh
we'll
yes. So
we'll
yeah,
look
working
forward
on
to that.
those hopefully in the next shooting to get them out for the summertime.
Awesome. Perfect timing. Perfect timing for sure. Um, so if there's anything else that you want to share with everybody, super exciting that you guys have going on. And I appreciate you taking the time today to share all this information. I feel like that's, even I learned a few things from you today. So that's great. I love learning
Great.
new stuff every day. So
Absolutely. I guess just sort of the top line message from us all right now is we're here, we're all in this together. We're not stopping. We're developing new products. We are finding ways to collaborate with our partners and, keep the information about the products and the knowledge flowing, and entertain you guys when we can with a fun little show on the side.
Awesome.
And we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're glad you're all here with us, and keep on trucking.
Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate that. And, to my audience, you can find the Willie's Remedy products on custombotanicaldispensary.com. And if for any reason, we're sold out or we don't have the inventory in stock, obviously, please feel free to visit, williesremedy.com as well, because I know you guys have everything on there. But we really appreciate your time and everything today. And I'll make sure that once we get those cool mocktail and cocktail recipes, we'll get those going. I'll do some fun stuff with the kids and get those on our YouTube channel as well, and send them
back to us. We'll add them to the recipe book.
All right, that's well. I don't know. I have a disclaimer on my show that when I start making something, no promises how it's going to turn out, because I'm like, I might burn something, I might break something, I might drop something. It may just be completely for entertainment purposes only. But we'll try it at the end and hope that it actually turns out okay.
That is a great way to go. I support that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, well, I figure that makes better entertainment anyway, to see my failures.
I mean, you saw the show yesterday. One or two little
little bloopers here and there. It's fine. It's all good. Again, we're all in this together, and normally I wouldn't be going. This inspired. This whole thing inspired this for me to be able to bring fun activities together with making things with hemp and with CBD as a family and as a whole family thing versus. And I probably wouldn't have done that had I not been stuck at home for the last month or so with my children every day. And so definitely.
One of the guys on the show last night, I think, worded it really well. He said, thinking about these times right now, this isn't dirt, this is soil.
Yeah.
This is something from which you can grow. And
absolutely.
I really like that. So.
Absolutely. Well, again, I appreciate your time today, and I'm excited to let everybody view this. And we'll definitely, if we have any questions that come back from anybody, I'll ping you on those so I can get questions answered to
totally
our customer base.
Totally happy to field any questions that people have. And, we're here to be a resource. So anything you need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Cheers. It was great to be here.
All right. Thank you. Bye.